And back. To go back to the point that I originally started in the past game, that I didn't get to finish because the game started. And if you watched it, it turned out to be a pretty shitty game. I began saying something that explained what occurred throughout the game, and by that I mean what I said, which was all related to the game, separately from the point I wanted to make, that I find myself repeating. But the reason why, and I wanted to ask you before I start, this is all part of the point that I'm going back to. That you just start as a paradox that's hard to understand, and you're gonna understand it until I tell you, okay, now you should understand it. So until you hear me saying, now you should understand it, the point is not ready for you to understand. You have nothing to understand because I have not given you anything to understand. And before I said that, I also said that I didn't care for your understanding. So keep in mind, besides anything I said, separate point, if you catched up that much of what I said and keep up. So for me to keep up with what I'm saying, even though I am, I ask you to trust that I am always keeping up with what I'm saying, which you're gonna learn is true if you let me do what I asked you to do, which was letting you know when I was finished. And remember that you wouldn't know what what I wanted to finish. Still don't know what it is that I wanted to finish because I haven't tell you. But I'm gonna cut that there and just say the three keywords that are needed to be remembered throughout this whole process that I'm initiating with myself that you might be watching, and the reason why I'm explaining this is that because your possibility of the possibility, excuse my English also, the possibility of your um, opinion on what I'm trying to do, which I'm gonna keep reminding you. So that's the third thing I'm gonna ask you. I'm gonna keep reminding you to remember. I ask you to not try to understand until I tell you to because I haven't given you to, and trust that this is all part of it. Even this boring part explaining itself and itself and itself, which changes individually, very slightly. These variations, for lack of better term, and these things that might sound the same to you, they need to be spotted. That's the reason why I'm talking about right now. There are variations in the things that I repeat, and I noticed they're gonna come across, and I promise you, they're gonna come across to you as the same thing. But I want you to remember to trust me that I am capable of getting what I'm getting. And I'm gonna prove that to you. That's just something I'm asking of you without any background. On what you could trust or not trust in me. So that thing that is nowhere yet because of the things that I repeatedly say. It needed to be repeated, and that I was going to continue to do so with slight variations like this one each time. Like I'm adding this, even though it's very similar. The variations that I mentioned before, they're happening right now as I'm saying it, and I have to multitask on the thing that I'm very clear have in my head and I want to say and I want to come across. Is there to get to him, but I just keep losing my point every time I try to do it a certain way, which you don't know what it is and you don't know the way that I'm trying to do. But you do know three things so far. I know these things that you don't have the time nor the energy to deal with right now. And those three things are that I ask you to do things for me, and those things were needed simply because just the way they are needed to describe what it is. Like if you need to say something that is red, you need to say it the way you need to say it to describe it the way you see it, because that's the way you see it, and the way you see it is you. And I hope you understand that, and the reason why I'm explaining and hoping you understand something that you might consider very simple to understand as a basic. I come across a lot of people who they're very good in the very other aspects of life. They're not trusting and complying to the things that you ask them to comply to and help you with. And by that I mean talking about me in third person, which I do a lot. I'm gonna do a lot from the next probably hour, and it's gonna be explain itself why, and I'm gonna stumble along the way a lot. But the point is clear, and it needs all this work, all this background stumbling, and this background mumbling, and this background misunderstanding, and needs the time that it needs to be misunderstood to get to where it needs to get. That I asked you to trust. I know where it is because I've seen it. I'm there. And once I'm convinced I got you there, knowing nothing about you and how, why do I need anything to go with you? Because when communicating with people, and these are points that need to be pointed out when saying the things that I'm saying, because of what I'm trying to get to, which is very repetitive. Sounds crazy, sounds annoying, don't have the time, and I'm gonna stumble away along the way, as I am doing right now, but always with the same point, and all of the stumbling can be used to clarify the point even more. So, I asked you for three things, I'm gonna ask you for the four things. Those three things that I asked you were trust, that I'm going somewhere, and don't try. The second thing that I asked you was don't try to understand where I'm going to until I tell you to try to understand it. And each of those three things that I ask you to do, which I'm on number two right now, needs its own explanation. Uh, the why I need the trust needs its own explanation, and it needs it. And when I use the word need, I am solely referring to the need to get what I need to get. It only applies to that, to where I'm going to get eventually with you together. But you should trust I can get you there. It's very repetitive, it's very paradox, and there's a lot of this that's going to use the background, but it's going to be pointed out because remember how annoying that was? I'm going to be able to say those words in the future and go back to that. And when I say, remember how annoying that was, I'm going to be able to pick apart how and when that was relevant at that point, hopefully. And I know at this point it sounds crazy to you, but I have someone in the room who's also listening, and I'm trying to explain this to him for a very long time. And the only reason that I could do that was to ask him to trust. Well, I was saying, which is a lot of nothing. It is a lot of nothing, and it's not getting anywhere. But you're not doing what I'm saying, which is trust. I'm getting somewhere, and that somewhere I explained to that person before, it was nowhere. But and by nowhere, it means you're. I have to explain the understanding of the word nowhere of that person. You have to explain the understanding of each word that I choose in the way that that person took the word that I choose, and explain why. I have to try to explain the way that I choose it. I mean, the way that word means to me. what that word, I'm sorry, let me rephrase myself, what that word means to me, and try to get it, to understand the person, whoever that may be I'm talking to have the same understanding of that word. And that doesn't happen often because of where I'm trying to get, which I never got myself or anyone because I haven't been able to, but I know I can get there because I trust my capabilities and what I'm doing, which I know and you don't, but you should trust. I was getting you somewhere based on the hours that I told you it was going to take of a lot of repetitions and paradoxes. So, the whole point of the video was to talk to myself, to hear myself repeating the same thing and notice. Try to remember the differences because I needed to see the differences because that's what I end up talking about because they end up being needed. Those differences that I need to notice, that I'm doing the video to notice, I need it to prove the point that I tried to make when I came with the need of making this video, which you don't know any others. Oh god, no one's supposed to be watching this. Alright, I'm just gonna play. Bye. Good, good. Gotta finish that, but
Traveling to Horizon Lunar Colony.
gotta finish that early, and you can do it when.
Prepare to attack. Select your hero.
Well, I can heal, so good luck.
The true enemy of humanity is disorder.